So Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi's net worth is well over $100 million each. If you combine their husband's net worth in with that, it's over $300 million each. So how do these career politicians who've never done anything in their life other than be politicians from a very, as long as Joe Biden, these people have been in Congress as far back as the Vietnam War. How do they get rich? So I'll just give you a couple quick examples of how these corrupt politicians, and you got to dig deep for it because the mainstream media don't like to talk about this, especially when it's their friends, the Democrats. But not too long ago, Nancy Pelosi passed a bill that allowed the government to buy federal land and give out grants to companies to build on those lands. And one of the companies that got the grant, so it's free money, it's not a loan from the government, it's a gift, millions of dollars, I'm talking millions, maybe 100 million, I think. One of the companies just happened to be a company that her husband was a chairman of the board. So he buys this land, and then Dianne Feinstein heads a committee to allow more grants for people to buy land to develop. And her husband happens to be on a board that gets a grant, tens of millions of dollars, and buys the land from Pelosi's husband, builds on it, sells it, and makes millions. So taxpayers actually bought this land 3 times. Me and you paid for this land 3 times to enrich Senator Dianne Feinstein's family and Nancy Pelosi's families. That's how these corrupt politicians get rich. Another example will be Joe Biden. He was vice president, and even before, he fully supported the Iraq war, sending more troops, helped rebuild Iraq. And then when the government was handing out contracts for companies to rebuild Iraq, construction companies, guess who got the contract? Joe Biden brother, Jim Biden, who has no experience in building, no credentials. There's no logical reason that he would get the bid other than being Joe Biden's brother. And you've seen even during the first coronavirus bill to help us out, where they gave us the stimulus, in it, they gave tons of money to the hotels and hotels and entertainment industries, because a lot of people, the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, a lot of people were laid off. So you can understand they gave them money to keep them up and running so these people had jobs to come back to. But the Democrats in Congress carved it out, and it said the Trump family cannot receive, even though his family had to lay off 40,000 people because of the coronavirus shutdowns, his family couldn't receive a penny. Yet, there were senators on both sides and congressmen on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, that were major stakeholders in hotels, major stakeholders in restaurants, hospitality industry. That's the word that escapes me. I live in Orlando, so I should know hospitality. The hospitality industry. And Trump was like, a lot of these people have families. They're not going to eat. You're not hurting me. You're hurting them. I'm still a billionaire, but we need to get this out there. So he went ahead and signed it. Okay. And speaking of the coronavirus bill, it's kind of funny when the Republicans offered Pelosi a $1.8 trillion bill. She said it wasn't big enough. And now Biden's talking about a bill, literally half, $900 billion, literally half. She's like, yeah, we need to sign this. She is such a liar. She is so in your face, old school political corrupt liar. It's just ridiculous. But the corruption goes way beyond that. The night of the last presidential debate, this guy Bobulinski, a former naval officer, and from everybody researching this guy has mega credentials, very good integrity, got out of the Navy and became a legit millionaire CEO. So Hunter Biden crackhead. I don't say that like a joke. Like, he's really a crackhead. He's been in and out of rehabs because he's a crackhead. Hires him because the Biden business wanted a legit CEO to run things and make it look more legit. This guy Bobulinski, the night of the last debate, came out, and other than Fox, everybody ignored this guy. He said, listen, and he had the video. He showed us that. He let us hear the video, the audio recording, talking to Biden's lawyer, saying, listen, there's too many shenanigans going on. If you guys don't come clean, I'm going to go out and tell the press. But he didn't realize the press was in the tank for Biden, so it didn't get much coverage. He also showed emails and text messages on his phone talking to Hunter Biden about meeting his father, Joe, and about the meeting they had. He said they met twice to talk about business, and Joe Biden repeatedly lies, says, that's my son's business, I have nothing to do with it. So this guy is proving he lied. Plus, the laptop that the FBI seized and New York Post reported on has these same emails. So we know Hunter Biden's father, Joe Biden, was in talks. And what were these talks about? Well, Hunter Biden, with no experience, got $1 billion from the communist Chinese for a hedge fund he was running. And their commissions were in the tens of millions. And in Biden's emails to his family, he said he has to give Pops half of everything he earns. And this is how politicians insulate themselves. Feinstein's husband gets the contracts. Pelosi's husband gets the contracts. Biden's son gets the contracts. His brother gets the contracts, but it goes back to him. Half is what that mob boss does, that crime boss does. Joe Biden gets half, where most crime bosses only get like 25%. So this is how these corrupt politicians work. And this is why you had all of them, Republicans and Democrats, against Trump. Because Trump knew the game from being a businessman in New York. He knew how the payoffs work in business. And he got so sick of it, he became president, and he didn't receive a dime from any of these lobbyists. He was outspent by Hillary 5-1 and outspent by Biden, some estimates say 20-1, because he was pulling us out of these wars. He was defying Big Pharma by saying, you can't charge America any more than you charge any other country. We're going to stop being saps, where we pay $100 for a diabetes pill, where another country pays $2. No, we have to pay the lowest. If you want to do a business in America, we get the lowest price. So Big Pharma hates them. The military-industrial complex, they're losing so much money. All these defense contractors, they hate them. Wall Street hates them. So you got the big banks, Big Pharma, Big Tech, forget about it. We can do a whole video about Big Tech. And they all came against him. All Trump had his whole 4 years was his family and us. The average American guys and gals that go out and work hard every day. So the media wants us to believe that the majority of the people voted for this corrupt politicians. I don't believe it. I think most of my viewers don't believe this. But we have to pray for a miracle that the courts don't believe it as well. So God bless, and pray for our leaders. And if God allows this corrupt politician to become president of the United States, you better get close to Jesus. That's all I'm saying. God bless, and stay Catholic.